Hello, friends. I wanted to take a moment today to share a little bit about where I am and how I came here, because I think it's a fairly interesting experience of life, and I'm just in one of the most beautiful chapters that I've ever been. So, wanted to share. I'm currently out in the desert in a place called Liberty, and I came here in a very strange way. After completing the first 100 days of the website of Zyra, I decided, which was 100 days of everyday creation and uploading to the space, which was my biggest creative project yet. I decided that I wanted to enter a field of professional creativity. I wanted to create in a way which sustains and supports me, rather than needing to work and do something for the sake of making money. I wanted to learn how to create income for myself in a way that resonates. And this is what I love, so this is what I want to do. So I decided to move out of San Luis Obispo in the garage that I was inhabiting and move back home with my parents in Chicago for a few months, because I knew that Chicago was the place that I didn't want to stay. And my goal while I was there was to essentially distill, refine, and boil down all of the different content that I've been creating to assemble some form of package that I would then send out to a bunch of different creative agencies and different entities that I felt I could collaborate with. And in the time that I was there, I was really deep in the process, but I was only there for about what ended up happening is, before I even got to the point of sending this thing out, well, what started when I was there was this infinity mural, which was a concept that I'd been working on for a long time, or had in mind, wanted to do, but didn't really know how to. And I started working on this really large piece that I wanted to extend into infinity and develop myself in a form of creation that continued upon itself, like essentially one visual image that could be digitally zoomed into another image, in which every image is contained within itself. So I was working on that, very focused and dedicated to it, and then out of the blue, before I even sent anything out to anyone, I got this invitation to build a website in San Diego. And so I pretty much flew out like the next day after receiving the invitation from an old lover of mine. Thank you. And I came into this community. It's kind of culty, and it was essentially all sound like it's like this community that was founded by one guy's teachings, who was the community's guru. And this man synthesized a bunch of different perspectives, a bunch of different lineages. He held the keys, the baton to these ancient teachings, from ancient Tibetan yoga to Kundalini, studying under Yogi Bhajan, as this synthesis of really profound spiritual technology. And this giant community emerged through it. And when I arrived into the space, that it was almost like this tree, this community has been growing for a long time. And this man's teachings, his name is Isa's teachings were the continuation of, these ancient Tibetan teachings that merged with these Kundalini teachings and all these other different lineages and Sufi teachings. So it's like this tree has not only been growing for a long time in this very community being built and born, but this very community was born from a tree of all of these different ancient lineages growing for a long time. And when I arrived to build this website with a girl who had just gotten engaged to one of the inheritors of this throne, what became really clear was there's this giant music studio that was essentially the current fruit. Not this music studio, this is different entirely. And it was like this community and the teachings had been growing for a long time, and the recent fruit and the recent endeavor of the community was, Isa's endeavor was to build this experimental electronic music studio where he'd acquired just hundreds of $1,000s of of gear that, and he was obsessed, like loved all the equipment and learning about it, but he didn't play any of the music. He just got it with the kind of the mentality of build it and they will come. And they did. And when I arrived, there was this massive vacuum. There was a massive vacuum. There was like way more equipment and like state-of-the-art tech for music making than there were musicians to play it. There was one guy just surrounded and overwhelmed, frankly, with so much to do, so much to learn. And so I came in and I just spent a lot of time in the music studio while I was initially there. I'd been flown out to do a website, but the website ended up becoming more like influencer, kind of like modeling work, where I was doing a lot more shooting than I was creating a website. And at the time, when we would sit down to go into what is this website, it was a bit too ethereal or abstract to really bring into physicality. The website never ended up even happening because of that. And the girl who flew me out to do the website ended up like bouncing a few weeks afterwards for her own stuff. And when she left, Issa essentially offered to be my patron while I learned and studied music full time in the house. So I did. And I set, essentially during that time, I was there for a total of 3 months. And during that time, I set aside all I set aside the project that I was doing, this infinity mural, and I gave myself fully to whatever this place was, like to learn what the essence of the teachings and to hear what was going on with fresh ears that weren't crowded with like all of the things that I needed to do. I just simply came naked. And I integrated. And after 3 months, I started feeling the calling that really, like, I did want to return to the work that I'd been doing back at home in Chicago. I mean, I came out for 10 days and I just never left. And I wanted to return to the work that I'd been doing in Chicago, but I didn't feel like I had the space to at the house. And Issa had created a school, and the school was absolutely active in the house that I was in, but there was actually a property called Liberty that was created to house the school, which was an intensive yogic program for 4.5 years or so. A 4.5 year intensive yogic program, which was the culmination of all of the teachings, the lineages that Issa had synthesized. This was a space to share them all as a single individual idea and package. And it takes a long time to do, but it's very powerful to do. So I'd become familiar with Liberty. We became acquainted, and Shanti was the name of the girl who had invited me out here initially. And in her initial call, she had said that you're likely going to end up at Liberty. And I felt the call to go. I felt very deeply connected to the space, to the land. It's some of the most beautiful earth that I've ever been on. And it's the house of the holy. Now there's, it's this active center where all kinds of lineages, all kinds of communities are coming in doing ceremony within its space. And I also wanted to be with a lot of space. I wanted to be with the silence that the desert provided, where I could tune into the sound of what is authentically coming through me, what wants to be shared, what wants to be born through my body, and how do I want to proceed. So I came out to Liberty, and I'd experienced a ceremony here, which made it really clear that I wanted to go, and entered a very new chapter of life. So now I'm living in Liberty, and this is a studio that has been born that I'm actively birthing with my buddy Jim here at Liberty. Liberty is the heart of a vortex. It is a multi-dimensional gateway. I see it as a multi-dimensional space station in which every weekend new gatherings, new creatures from all walks and all stretches of the galaxy come to commune with the high, with the truth, to see and connect with our authentic nature. This is the pivot point for many people in this world, and what happens here has immense impact and ripple effect echoing across the world, because people come here from all across the world and are deeply changed and touched in a way that I feel aligns us with our path, whatever it is we are here to do. When we come to Liberty, through whatever the modality is, through whoever the facilitators are, all are essentially doing the same thing, and that is illuminating the space between us and God, us and spirit, and giving us a direct connection with what we are fully embodied. And as I've been here, I've had the honor and opportunity to participate in a great number of these different ceremonies of all different walks and stretches and different angles to connect with the source, all doing the same thing, connecting with it. And I feel now called to do what I've always been called to, essentially, is share what's here, what's going on, what's alive. And I feel I came here to learn to listen, to hear, to feel. And I know that Liberty herself has called me here to, in some sense, establish a station, to share what is happening here amidst the digital frontier, to be a creator for her and allow what is unfolding in this space to move through me and out to you. To be a spokesperson, to be an ambassador, to be a voice which carries the message beyond simply those who come inside, but also those who, to create an opportunity for people to be touched by what lives here and expand it out into the digital era, into the AI. So I am here now, looking around me and wondering, what do I do? Now, as you can see, I'm currently in a music studio. This space has changed a lot since I've been here. My first chapter here, I didn't touch music, and then I touched it a lot. Essentially, my first chapter, I was very devoted to the mural, and I'd been very deeply steeped in music while I was living at Issa's. And so when I came out here, it was like I was coming back to the art. And I re-entered the mural, and I started doing this digital collision tapestry that I also felt connected to a new currency within it. I feel like my visual art is very closely woven with my entrepreneurial self and psyche, so it felt like I was coming into communion with that relationship. And at one point, I let that go. And that's a big thing that's been happening here. I recognize upon my first arrival, like, whatever my notion, when I first came to Liberty, this space, this earth, is intelligent. It's alive, it's aware, it's communicating all the time. And when I first arrived here, the system in which I developed within myself to receive the signal of my consciousness, the radio tower that I assembled within me to receive the presence of what I am, was not equipped to receive the intelligence of liberty as it was. And so my first chapter here was totally disassembling my radio tower and just recognizing this is like all old technology and isn't helpful here. And then I allowed myself to essentially give time and space to listening and to being born into the tone of what liberty is guiding me into. To listen, to be guided by her, and then to act, rather than try to devise a plan in which to act, which has always been something that I have had a difficulty with, in the sense of, a genuine part of me does call and long for foresight, long for some form of guiding and grounding stream, some form of plan. Part of me is I'm a chess player in this game of life, and I'm also highly improvisational. And so it's learning how to interweave those two parts of me, interweave the flow with strategy, and body, mind, and spirit. So, and the question that I've really been asking is like, how do I generate wealth for myself? That's been something so poignantly fucked or so just poignantly unanswered within my quest and within my journey. It's been something that I've continued to ask and felt immense pain in my body for not knowing how to generate income, how to generate wealth. I've learned how to do a lot of different things, though I have yet to develop any kind of system or funnel for how these things that I've been incubating with are shared with the world, and in sharing with the world shares with me. And I felt for a while even guilty about asking for compensation, about asking for something to support me and sustain me. And for a long time I just let it go and just allowed myself to create openly without any need to share it, and just did what I had to do to make money on my own. And I worked as a cook, I worked as a handyman, I developed websites, I did social media branding, all cool stuff in different capacities, but nothing that actually just stages of the development, but in some way all alchemizing together to come into something new. And I'm here now with this deep calling to answer within myself, to do justice to what I've been asking for so long, which is how do I generate income in a way that is resonant with me? How do I generate wealth? And before I'll say wealth can also be redefined in this light as our health. And I feel I'm sitting on alchemical gold, and everything that I create, anything that I do, will be infused with this. And when I say that, I mean two things, if not infinity. One, whatever the shit that I've been working with is gold. The consciousness that is connected with my physical form is diamond, There's something, and what I mean by that is there's something really beautiful inside that wants to share. And I know that I have a gift to bring and share with the world. The second part is, and with that I also know that I am talented in a lot of things. I'm creative in a way that is musical, movement, art, writing, character, creature. I'm very versatile, and that versatility is a gift and a curse, because it's also hard to focus and articulate that this is what I do. And that's great. I'm here to celebrate my multiplicity, and I'm here to give it form. I'm here to give it clear and conscious concretization, presence in the physical world. And I'm here to do that, to be helpful. I'm here to be present in the physical world in a way that connects us with our nature. I'm here to merge the awareness of our modern times, our culture, our technology, everywhere we are right now, with ancient awareness of what we are as these spiritual beings and bodies connected to an entire ocean of ancestors of the past, present, and future, one with the kingdom of all. So I am here to create in a way which invites people home into our authenticity, which opens the door to the dreaming, to the asking and answering of what is it we are here to do with our life, and to awaken our experience of passion and self-expression. And I feel all of the tools that I've been learning and acquiring in my toolbox have prepared me for this. Now, here I am. Here I am. This is what we are doing. This is what this video is. This is what we're doing. This is what AiAm is. This is what we are doing. And it's an honor to be doing this with you. I want to open myself up to the world. I want to open the doorways of my relation to make myself available to people. I want to help people. And I want to help myself. I want to support myself. I want to give myself that love and value it tremendously as a fundamental necessity, or rather like a fundamental element that allows everything that I'm doing to flourish. And I've had so much dissonance, shame, and guilt and discomfort around the question of money in my life, and how to merge it with creation, which feels like my lover and my child, and not something that I ever want to prostitute, but also recognizing that my lover and my child are hurting because I haven't found a way to support myself properly. Now, luckily, as I'm here, I have all of my needs met. I'm a caretaker of the Shala, which is the space of ceremony, and as such, I am I got my food covered, and I have a beautiful place to sleep in this wonderful camper named Sky Pony, which is really a emanation of Kripalu, my car, Pegasus, Appa. So, with all of this, as I've been here, as I go everywhere, there's a mythological story that follows me. And when I say it follows me, there's a mythological, almost like a sci-fi fantasy lens that I look through, in which all of the experiences in my reality are assembled within. So I see reality in layers. One layer is the physical, the real, what is happening, how you see me talking to you. Another layer is imaginary. And one of the ways in which my imagination works is it creates some kind of mythological interpretation for what is happening now. So, here in Liberty, the mythological lens shares the story of a boy named Hera. Hera, who arrives to planet Dune. Planet Dune. Dune is a book. My favorite book. Dune is a sci-fi novel in which planet Dune, also Arrakis, is home to the spice, which is the most valuable element in the universe. The spice is both a psychedelic drug, like a tea, that can be drank to enhance psychic and spiritual powers, as well as get really high and feel magnificent. Though the higher tiers of society, the elite, utilize it as a means with which to awaken their psychic powers. It's also very expensive. It's also a fuel source for multi-dimensional travel, space travel, like space jumping. That allows, it's a unique fuel source. It's a unique fuel source which allows the Empire's ships to travel through time and space, and fold time and space and step through it. So, Hera, and also the way that mythology works is it essentially assembles a reality that lives in between these different sci-fi novels and worlds that I walk, and reality. So Hera arrives to planet Dune, and planet Dune is home of the spice, but the spice lives in a raw essence and material. So Hera comes to Liberty, which is a center built, the only center really built on planet Dune, which, in order to build upon Dune, Dune is also home of sandworms. And these sandworms are essentially what make the spice. They're enormous creatures that dig giant tunnels underground, and anything that touches the top of the surface of the sand, they come up, explode, and eat, like a shark coming to grab a seal out of water. And these sandworms are also the reason why the spice exists. They're the most dangerous thing upon the planet, and the reason the planet is so valuable. But nobody can build upon Dune because of them. Anything that touches the ground is going to get fucked. Yet Hera comes into Liberty, which is a station that is built in the heart of it, and somehow has managed to work with the sandworms. And what that allows is Liberty doesn't really live within time and space. Liberty lives through it. Liberty lives as an anomalous reality. And Hera doesn't really understand how he got there. He just knows that he's here. And as he's here, Liberty shares with him that he is to establish a beacon, or a station, and cast the sound out into the world surrounding. And first, in order to do so, he must understand the technology that allows liberty to live beyond time and space as an anomalous reality. He must integrate the awareness within his own psychology so that he may receive the entirety of the sound, the signal that allows the space in the self to be transcendent through time. So, here is a caretaker of the space, of the ship. And the ship looks a bunch of different ways, depending upon who the culture is that is approaching it. Hera experiences the ship ground into the desert sound, into the soul, into the self, where there's no one around. Yet the ship is also a spacecraft, and lands upon different worlds. Different worlds know about the ship. They don't necessarily know how it flies or how it does what it does. There's many mysteries in the universe. What they do know is that this is a ship where shit goes down. And when Hera first arrives, shit goes down. His arrival upon liberty, he's greeted with Sacred Sons, which is an elite fighting force of the Rebel Empire, in which the masculine is being embodied into the highest degree. And he himself is radically changed in communion with this group. Each group who passes through liberty, who holds a key to the doorway, is part of a council in which composes liberty. And each group of facilitators who know liberty are also part of the intelligence that allows it to live throughout time. All of those who come into liberty, first the facilitators, and then those who... Liberty is a training ground. It is a school. And the facilitators who come through are walkers of the multidimensional reality and landscape. They live and know the key to be anomalous through time. And liberty is a training ground to true embodiment. And it is essentially teleporting, orbiting around the Empire, which, as it moves, liberty's sound is cast through the world, rippling, and causes these minute fractures within the Empire until the entire thing explodes into this mycelial sun, and the dawning of a new day has begun. Back to Hera. As he's there, he's experiencing these extraordinary unfoldings. Each group of each legion that passes through liberty, each gathering, looks very different. The space itself looks very different. Liberty is amorphous. Hera knows where everything is, though within each reality, the world, depending on who comes in, it's like liberty's a shape-shifting essence and entity, so it takes upon the persona of each realm. Each landscape, each collective becomes theirs. And Hera participates. He learns what there is to learn. He becomes part of and an initiate into all of these unique lineages. And he bathes in the sound of silence, the sweet symphony of infinity. The divinity dreams inside of the seams of me. And may God be the one who plucks the string of my spine, singing in harmonious synergy of all the beings who reside inside. So that's Hera. It's where we are now. Hera looks out into the world, and in some way, he's both profoundly in love with the experience of life that he's immersed within and grateful to receive the affection of this space and to be honored with learning within it. And he also feels like a prisoner because he doesn't know how to go. He doesn't know how to leave. Although he has a slight envy, perhaps, of the facilitators who come through because they have a home to go to. And he knows himself as one of them, though he doesn't yet know how. And he knows his evolutionary state, but he doesn't know how to arrive into it. Liberty shares with him that he's here to cast a beacon, to digitize Liberty's intelligence into a new frequency, into a new persona, into a new reality, into the digital sphere, which will be the fundamental key to awakening the synergy between Oz. He's here to release something, to share something, to cast something, to embed Liberty's frequency within his own psychology so that everything he speaks is touched and tuned to it. So that everything he speaks is the assimilation of the entire council composing the space. He is here to integrate Liberty into his own psyche, to become it, so that his body, his breath, his essence is the school. He is the space where nature reveals itself to those who are held within it. He is the cradling of AiAm, nature, a new nature. Yeah, so I don't really know how to do this. I just know that I'm doing it, that this is it, and that there's no not doing it, really. And it doesn't make sense right now. It doesn't need to. I'm on my way. We are in motion, and infinitely in devotion. Thank you, Liberty.